I guess I'm already on. Am I on? I guess I'm on. So this is what I see this morning, except it's darker than my camera says it is. So now I'm going to draw that. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. So we start with a dark background, and now I work with my vector tool to do a sort of rendition of this. So we've got this sort of blue sky turning what? Dawn color. Which way is east? I bet you know. I bet you know. And the street goes back like this. I normally don't do things like start at the top and work my way down, but because of the gradation of the sky, I wanted to make sure I got that vaguely the way I wanted. Okay, I need to move this up a little bit. The horizon line, or my eye level, is right about here. Right here, there's a little tiny bit of chain link fencing that is being hit by a light. There's a car right now coming down the road there. There's right here, there's another light source, and there's a light source up here that's off camera, which you can't see. That's about where the lights are. There's a car parked that's reflecting here. We'll get to the good part. Well, I don't know if there's a good part. Is there a good part in here? While we're at it, there's this yellowish light there that hits a little tiny bit of reflection there. I guess that car is not moving down here. Ugliest building in Boston is there. Okay, well, you know what I'm doing here by now, I think. It's all about the red fence. That's too red. I mean, it's too bright. That's not helping, Pierre Gustafson. And we'll fix this in a minute. Okay, right here we've got a Jersey barrier. Waking up and getting up out of bed, not just waking up, but putting your shoes on and pants. I have both shoes and pants on, just so full disclosure here. And getting out of the house or the bed or whatever, your bedroom, wherever you might be, is one of the most enjoyable things one can do in one's life. As long as you don't have to do something you don't want to do, like go to work. Hopefully you like your work as much as I kind of do most of the time. Sometimes I must admit work is not my favorite thing to do, but drawing almost is. It's hard to beat drawing. What beats drawing in your book? Sex better than drawing? Is this made for children? What do children like to do? Is playing Nintendo better than drawing? Is being shot at your school more fun than drawing? I don't know. Maybe it is. I have a feeling that there are Republicans that seem to think that you must like it better because that's all you seem to be doing in school is being shot. I'm getting cranky in my old age, but I can do that. Why not? I should have not made this crane so fat with black lines because there's my what do you call it? My dawn is breaking a little faster than I thought it might. So consequently, I have to draw quickly. I don't know what kind of light bulbs they use in this building, but they have sort of a chartreuse look to it. Drawing better than eating a gallon of vanilla ice cream. You know, I'd be hard pressed for that one. I love vanilla ice cream. I love vanilla ice cream. No, I meant to sound like Pee Wee Herman, which that was not. I sounded like Homer Simpson. Well, that's way off. These orange cones are tricky because they're both translucent or fluorescent, or I don't know what the word is I want there. Their color is not found in your Crayola crayon box because it didn't exist back when I was a kid. They didn't have such things. These colors did not exist. Okay, here's the ugliest building in Somerville. This building is called the Design Building, and it is one of the most hideous buildings ever. It has windows that are way too small for the facade. It's like they suddenly realized they were going over budget, and how can we build this building? How do we only have $50 more to finish this building. How do we do it? And they took back the windows they had originally purchased for the building and bought the smallest ones they could, the cheapest ones, which were also the smallest. And consequently, it's like when you look at, sometimes when you see things that are way too small, don't go in the gutter. Well, okay, go in the gutter. I mean, sometimes you see guys who are, I'll just talk about guys. who are not wearing a shirt at the beach. And I'm not talking about their bad bits, I'm talking about their nipples. And you think, those nipples are way too small. And sometimes you see in America, yeah, leave it to me to go from nipples, men's nipples, to the American flag. Sometimes you see an American flag and the stars are way too small. That's what that building looks like, except it's windows. The windows are way too small. The building is called the Design Building, which is sort of funny because it's should be called the Not Design Building, Not Designed Building. Those aren't there. It's slightly better. It's getting too light. Not my drawing, but the day. Is this enough for this one? I think I made the stanchions, or the counterbalanced weights here, a little too tall. And there's a little bit of rosy, I don't know, reflective stuff going on there. God, it's so beautiful out here this morning. Just almost the perfect temperature. Well, this is a weird picture because there's a lot of primary colors going on here. Normally I don't draw with such a colorful drawing. I'm much happier in gloom and doom and less color. Okay, let's find a different spot. This big crane is driven by a couple of people, one of whom is named Cody. And he's old enough to be my grandson if I went in that direction, but I don't. But it's really quite interesting seeing a relatively small-sized human. Not that he's small, but I mean humans are small compared to this machine. Any human run this humongatoid machine, and so I'm planning on doing a animated movie. Oh, I forgot my sky. Where else is the sky happening? any sort of human control with just, you know, a flip of a switch or an index finger moving a toggle or something. All of these great gears and levers and pulleys and whatever it is that this thing has going for it start moving and churning and whatever they do, whatever gears and pulleys do. I don't know if they churn. When they were moving this truck, this thing the other day, though, it sounded just like popcorn, because the tracks of this machine are tank treads, you know, tracks, and they're to protect the road underneath. They are it's on pieces of plywood, and the plywood would make these popping noises, and I went up to one of the workers who was waving his arms back and forth to tell the driver to not go so far or not go so fast or go faster or whatever he was doing with his hand motions. I said, God, it sounds like you're making a huge thing of popcorn. And he laughed. He hadn't heard that before. But he said, yeah, my God, that does sound exactly like popcorn. But a giant thing of popcorn, not the kind that you make at home. The kind a giant would make. Oftentimes, if someone were to look at the drawings I do, they would say, "That's really great. What is it? That's so realistic. What is it?" Like, okay, well, if it's realistic, why are you asking me what it is? And you don't have to actually know what you're looking at to see something is realistic or not. Realism kind of comes from putting details down in a drawing, and the details are if you put enough of them down, or if you put them where they actually are, they're not necessarily decorative details. Details are Pierre Gustafson, are you trying to actually say something that makes sense? Details are bits and pieces of a drawing or a story that maybe don't, like, why are you telling me this? Why do I need to know all of these factoids? And the factoids that are boring are the ones that, when you take them with everything else you're being fed, is what makes it realistic. I just moved some artwork of mine that was in someone else's house, and a lot of the pieces that I spent hours and hours and hours making were not important. And I'm thinking, why am I saving this? I should just throw this thing away. It was part of a group of things I had created for an art show, and there were a number of pieces that I created for this thing that were not important. They were like the cast of thousands you see in the background of a movie. Well, the background of the movie, when you see 500 people rushing the one remaining lifeboat on a sinking ship in a movie, that adds realism to it. If you didn't have those 500 people and you knew that there were 500 people still on the boat, because that's what the story was telling you, you'd say, well, this doesn't seem real. But if you throw all those 500 people in there, then it'll seem real. So, and they're not important other than to make it seem real. So details in a realistic drawing, even if they're not unimportant, are needed. Otherwise, it won't look quite right. If you want it to be realistic, you don't have to draw realistically. But if you are trying to draw realistically, it's the devil is in the details, or whatever the thing is. And here's the rear view mirror, which this guy can see, who's trying to speed up on him on the highway when he drives home at night. Watching this thing being built took a good long time, because it has so many parts to it, as you can plainly see. Okay, and those parts, what do they do, class? They help it be realistic. Good, class. You're paying attention to me. And if you saw this at a art show, you might say, what is that? It's so realistic. Okay, the crane part of this needs to be darker, because the light is not coming from that side. Tread. Yellow fences, yellow railings rather. And now the final piece. There's a reflected orangish light hitting right there. There's more yellow fencing. Here, there's some of those orange cones off in the distance. There's way in the distance, there's the Texas school bus depository, I call it. These are school buses that park here overnight, and they're used to bring cannon fodder to school every morning. And sometimes they return without incident, but that's only a matter of time before we have another slaughter. Oh. It's supposed to be sort of an amber light. There we go. And there's a gray light here. Okay, the last thing on this picture is I'm going to make a little tiny bit of artistic license here and move the hook up a little bit from where it is in reality. I'm standing in the middle of the street, making my neighbors have to drive past me, go around me. What does that look like, people? I need more black. So here again is going to be some realism. Watch out. You're going to see this little thing right here, that little piece of light, that helps it look real. And right here, should I put this in? I will put it in. Right here is the top of another one of these cones. That looks kind of dumb there, doesn't it? That little cone. But I'm leaving it there. Why am I leaving it there? Well, I'll give you one answer. We've talked about it a lot. It's there for the R word. It looks too small. But I don't think it is. What do we think? Am I done with this one? These are getting a little bit more reflection now because, again, the light is changing on me. Do we think we're done with this one? I think I'm done with this one. I mean, the lights is changing on me, so if I don't stop now, I'll never stop because it'll change the entire day. I'm trying to find something else here to inspire me. And I think maybe I'm done for this morning. because it's getting too light and those birds are making too much of a racket. So, see you later.